George is messing with the mic stand, trying to make squeaking noises.
No, it sounds like a horror movie.
Well, that's...
like a fence, like a creaky fence. Like, oh, how did
Do it
someone
again.
get in?
I guess.
I don't watch as much horror movies.
Yeah, well, actually, on that topic of movies, I am the Flat Earth reviewer, and here with me in the studio is George, one of my good friends, and today we will be talking about a film that we both watched recently.
Yeah, hey guys, how's it going? We are going to review a movie. It's a little bit older, but it still has lasting power in popular culture. We're going to talk about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the movie we're talking about is Interstellar.
It's a bad thing.
This Flat Earth reviewer, who is too afraid to share his real name, and I have some differing opinions on it, but I think we can both agree it's fictional in more ways that some people think, in that it depicts a planetary Earth, right?
Yeah, well, okay, look, first of all, look, my name is private. I don't go about online sharing it with people because... Look, I like my privacy. Is that so wrong? But yes, really the issue with Interstellar at its core is the science fiction elements, which is all of it. It's been hailed as one of these really hyper scientific, hyper realistic films, and I think you were telling me earlier that it's being shown in schools and stuff to get people to learn. But it's all fiction.
So
it's fiction.
I was reading the other day that it's been adopted in several school systems to teach Einstein's theory of relativity. That's a topic for another day about school systems and what they're teaching our children. But we won't go into that. We're just going to talk about the movie and its effect on the world and the flat Earth community.
Yeah, well, just to get us started, I think that like I was saying before, it's just nonsense. Like the whole premise. It's about gravity. It's about trying to get into space. It's about breaking, I guess, this barrier of gravity. You can't send like X amount of mass or whatever. Look, the whole thing, it's all just a load of garbage. This is just a propaganda piece used by Hollywood to try to get people more invested in this idea of space travel and exploration and the idea of a round ball Earth. None of that's real. This is just a full-blown attempt to brainwash people.
Well, I won't necessarily go that far. I think that clearly it's fiction. No one is trying to say it's otherwise. And I can at least suspend my disbelief for a moment. I can think, I know this is fiction. I know that the Earth is flat and that space travel is a hoax, but I feel like I can still enjoy movies that depict those things.
Well, here's where we really get into the issue at hand. I enjoy movies, okay? I enjoy movies.
Well, what's your favorite movie, Flat Earth reviewer?
My favorite movie, probably They Live.
They Live? Is that a horror movie?
You haven't seen They Live?
I don't watch horror movies. Is it a horror movie?
Gosh. It's a sci-fi thriller about a man that essentially sees the world for what it truly is. He puts on these special sunglasses and he sees...
yeah. I remember you telling me about that.
Aliens. Yeah, I've told you about it before. You need to watch it. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
So I can look past occasionally the messaging and the programming and these propaganda pieces that Hollywood puts out there, but at the end of the day, Interstellar kind of bored me.
Well, you keep saying propaganda, and to me, it's just fiction. I feel like there's a distinction. I don't know. The movie wasn't really trying to convince us about space travel, but it was about something else. I just feel like these people are just confused. It's not propaganda.
Nah, I disagree. This is the point of what Hollywood does. It goes way back. Look at The Shining, for example. Look at what Stanley Kubrick, the little hints and references he put in there to the whole moon landing hoax. He knew. Now, I don't know if he actually filmed the moon landing. In fact, I think there is an argument to be made that he didn't, because the moon landing has all these errors you can see in it, and he was a known perfectionist. But I think he probably knew the director that filmed it. And honestly, that director is more than likely dead. I don't think they'd keep a person alive that knew such a huge secret. But this Interstellar, it's just another attempt to brainwash us into believing everything that NASA puts out there.
Yeah, I do believe that there are people who believe in a flat Earth in Hollywood, but I think that brings up another issue of them being scared to speak their mind. Do you feel like that is an issue that we're dealing with in Hollywood?
Well, I don't know that there are as many flat earthers in Hollywood as you'd think. I think it's more the common man that believes in that. I mean, I don't think Christopher Nolan is a flat earther.
No, I don't think so either. And I see here's my issue with your propaganda claims. I feel like Christopher Nolan and many others in Hollywood are simply just misguided. They're not purposely trying to brainwash us, but somehow they became in charge of the media that we consume, and the media is largely just wrong, not purposely trying to convince us of anything.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure some of these directors, some of these small time directors, are genuinely misguided, like you say. But I find it hard to believe that some of these really powerful and rich directors, like Christopher Nolan, are making these films because they're misguided. This is a labor of love. It's a passion project from Christopher Nolan. And in my opinion, it is completely centered on the idea of trying to get people more invested in the idea of space travel and of NASA's lies, essentially.
Well, and especially Gravity. Gravity has a large part in the film.
Yeah, Gravity it's kind of the central point of the movie. I guess it's like gravity and like love are the two strongest forces in the universe or some weird crap like that. Look, it's all just bull crap to me.
When you think about it, it really is contrived, and it's hard to explain the premise because we both know the premise is kind of ridiculous. Fictional, yes, but kind of ridiculous. But your claims about him convincing us would also mean that you believe that Christopher Nolan knows the truth about flat Earth.
Yeah, I think he probably does.
So, what do you think? Why is he trying to convince us otherwise?
To convince us that the space program is legit. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like why go through all this effort to convince us that the space program is legit if he knows that it's all a sham?
I mean, he might be getting a paycheck. We don't know. See,
Yeah.
It's all about money. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. NASA gets paid, I don't know how, I can't remember off the top of my head how many billions of dollars each year by the U.S. government to do research ostensibly, but
He did finger quotes for you can't see him, but he did finger quotes.
yes, I did do finger quotes. Sorry, I'm new to this medium of podcasting, so it's a rough transition.
Okay, so we've maybe established the possibility that Christopher Nolan was paid off to make this film, this propaganda piece. Are there signs in the movie to convince us that it was a paid job and he's not just misguided?
I think that, like we were talking about before, the whole premise of it being centered around gravity and the borderline worship of the space program, which kind of it's a little
That's true.
disturbing when you think think about it.
That's
It's
true.
like
It does come in kind of like a white knight, but then even
it's like the church of spaceology or something.
Yeah.
I'm just making up terms, but
what would you say to the eventual reveal towards the end of the movie, or maybe towards the middle of the movie? It is pretty long, but there's
it's very long.
There's a reveal that the NASA the head of NASA, who's played by Michael Caine, he has in essence lied to these astronauts, and it almost puts in NASA in a bad light towards the middle of the movie. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I thought you'd bring that up. Look, I think that there's this kind of mentality that if they put a kernel of truth into things, or they make characters look less sympathetic than they are, we'll just kind of buy it. We'll just go along with it. You're arguing now that NASA is not necessarily the good guy in the movie, but ultimately, in the end, they do save the day, and the lie is kind of made to look like a necessary thing to save the world. And that's actually more disturbing when you think about it, because that's just the justification they're using now. I'm sure a lot of them, at least, I'm sure a lot of the higher ups at NASA are saying, well, we are lying about the shape of the Earth and about gravity and about this and that, but it's for the greater good, when ultimately it's just to make money. And that's really what movies are, right? It's just they exist to make money. You know, we see Interstellar. I can't remember how much money it made, but I'm sure it made a pretty penny.
It was fairly successful in the box office. I remember that. And I think that there are reasons why it made that much money, because it is very beautifully shot. I don't know, you can't disagree with that. It's a beautiful movie. The score is very moving. It creates a lot of emotions that it seems kind of fabricated, though, because you start feeling these emotions, and they're very good at convincing you should have these emotions, but deep down inside, we're thinking, wait a second, this isn't right.
Yeah, I will concede that there is talent behind it. There's talent behind the score. There's talent behind a lot of the shots. Like I said before, I find it kind of boring, but there are certainly moments in it where you can't question the skill that went into the cinematography, and even the special effects look good. Although I think they probably were able to use some of NASA's special effects assets from their telescopes and their satellites, because no image you see of the Earth is ever an image of the Earth. It's always just CGI.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's almost that's disconcerting, to think about that there's so many people with so much talent who are actively trying to convince us of something that we don't want to believe, or we can't believe, because it's just not true.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think that's what it all comes down to, is the fact that Hollywood is just always pushing an agenda on us. And it's not always about the space program, obviously. There are other agendas to push on us. I mean, The Last Jedi was pushing kind of a feminism agenda on us, and Black Panther was pushing all sorts of agendas on us with regards to race relations and things like that, and Moana was all about environmentalism. There's so many agendas out there. It's all about the politics behind it. It's all about getting these ideas into our minds through our pop culture.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a movie that was just, pure enjoyment. Those are few and far in between now. And while I may be able to, like I said at the beginning, suspend my disbelief, these things are fiction. I'm willing to pretend, for the sake of the movie, that Earth might be round, or some of these other agendas that were mentioned. But at the end of the day, I want to see movies that are just fun. I don't need agendas about space exploration, and I don't need whatever you want to say in your movie. I just want to have fun.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. You just want to be entertained by movies,
and that's what they're there for, right?
Yeah, but I just
if these directors wanted to make a political statement, they should run for office. Not that we'd vote for them, but
Yeah, well, I mean, some of them are trying to. It looks like, but I still stand by my belief that it's just inherently wrong that they're trying to put this programming into their movies, but. We can agree to disagree, I think. We've been civil today, and it's been a pleasure having you on, because it's refreshing to get a little bit of a different opinion, a little different take on things. Even if you're a flat earther light, I guess. You're not
Hey, no. I'm not a flat earther light. I just think that this goes to show that there's a lot of opinions about us flat earthers that we are, cultureless, or that we're all the same kind of person. But I think that this is a really great project for the flat earth reviewer to show that there's all kinds of different flat earthers, to show that we're just people, but we have something in common, and that is that we are cravers of the truth.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up this project, because I hope to make this an ongoing endeavor where I bring on different guests and maybe even have some guests returning in the future.
I hope so. I've been having a great time.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun today, and I apologize. It's a little rough getting started. We're not pros at this. We're just two guys just in a booth trying to record some good content that hopefully will get you to see the truth about Hollywood. I hope to see First Man later this month. I know it's
It's more of a morbid curiosity.
yeah, exactly. It's something. Yeah, I don't want to spend my money on it, but I feel like if I can see it and I can convince others not to see it, I think it will have been worth it.
Yeah, I mean, for the greater good, I think it's almost something that would be maybe not our duty, but it would put some good in the world.
For sure. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that well, I've been saying to people online that I think it's a remake of the original Hollywood moon landing. You know, because they shot that in Hollywood too. So
Absolutely, they did.
maybe they won't make as many mistakes like the moving flag and the clearly labeled props and all of that from the original Hollywood moon landing film. Maybe they'll have corrected those mistakes this time around. Although they're not going to plant the flag in this movie, I heard.
Yeah, they took out the flag planting because of some garbage statement about how it was a success for humanity and not for America, even though the whole point of the video was to say, we did it first.
America's on top. Yeah, it's funny that they can't even get their messaging straight. Now it's like we're brainwashing the world instead of we're brainwashing the country.
Yeah. And this is what if all of these Hollywood movies are propaganda, it traces itself back to that very original statement, or could I say pissing contest of who can get to space first?
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason that we're in this situation, is because the government has made a mistake way back in the 60s about making up the story about going to the moon, and they've just been having to lie themselves out of trouble ever since.
Yeah, it's funny you put it that way. I hadn't really thought about that, but this is really just, it is another reinforcement of this lie, and it's just their way of kind of trying to make it seem like it's possible and real and that it really happened, and they just keep pushing that agenda. Anyway, I feel like we kind of got off into the weeds in this one, and probably because it's our first attempt at this.
I hope we'll be more concise and on topic.
Yeah, but overall, how would you rate Interstellar as a film? 9 out of 10.
Out of 10. Well, here's the thing. As a movie, as talent, as as writing dialogue and making the score and everything, I feel like it's a very good movie. So maybe 7 out of 10. But with its, including the context of it, including the lies and the possible propaganda, just because it's a 7 out of 10 in my book doesn't mean that I agree with anything that it's saying. It's just purely fiction to me.
Push back on the possible propaganda. I'd say definite propaganda, and I would give it. Look, I can't really separate it that well. Like, you're really separating the art from the message. I can't do that personally. So I'd probably I'd say it's not even worth watching, honestly.
Yeah.
Give it a 1 or a 0 out of 10. Look, if I wanted to listen to Matthew McConaughey whisper about sci-fi, I guess I'd watch Interstellar again, but I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to.
Like I said, has a lot of talent, but at the end of the day, it is false.
Yeah. At least we can agree on that. It's a falsehood that they're perpetuating.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank George for coming along today.
Yeah, thanks
it's been
for
a lot of
having
fun. Again, I hope we can do a little better in the future. Maybe George can stop slapping the desk so much.
Oh, sorry guys.
It's all right, George. It's all good. Anyway, this has been the Flat Earth Reviewer, and just remember, they live, we sleep.